Very participatory morning. I'm sure that you know that Ramadan started earlier this week. Yes, we're aware. Ramadan is the month-long holiday observed by Muslims. When in the year that it happens can change drastically because it follows the lunar calendar rather than the Gregorian, so it can happen in winter or summer or spring. But once a lunar year, Muslims all over the world observe this holiday. For 1 month, those who are able, physically, fast during sunlight hours. And each day the fast is broken with a big meal at the end of the day. And on these long spring days, this can mean hours and hours and hours without food or drink. But many are careful to point out that the point of this holiday, this observance, is not suffering. In a recent article, Bobby Hamid Thomas, who is the Imam of Fayetteville's Masjid Omar ibn Said Mosque, said this: "This is the biggest misconception I hear from people who are not Muslim. They hear about Ramadan and they assume that it is a time of deprivation, that we are suffering. It can be difficult at times, especially when the month falls in the summer. But for us, it is a time of rededication, of spiritual renewal. We refocus to gain a proper self-direction. That is something to be happy about, that we are healthy enough and that God wants to draw us close." Hassan M. Salim, an imam in Cedar Rapids, described it this way: "Ramadan is a time of spiritual focus and renewal and connecting back to things that matter. As we take a break from eating and drinking and other physical needs, we turn toward our souls and tend to their needs. We connect with nature by observing the birth of the new moon. We connect with God through offering extra prayers. We connect with our families and friends by sharing a meal and breaking our fast together. More importantly, we connect with those who experience hunger and thirst on a daily basis, all year long, not for spiritual or health reasons, but out of poverty and food insecurity." Fasting during the month of Ramadan is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. The 5 pillars are the month-long fast, the giving of charity, daily prayer, the affirmation, there is no God but God, and making the Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca once in a lifetime. The 5 pillars are seen as the necessary acts that make possible the living of a full life in which religious devotion and belief is carried through all aspects of one's living. They make possible a sense of balance and rightness as one both lives in the world and maintains a deep and abiding commitment to faith. The pillars lift up strength in belief, kindness and compassion to others, spiritual maturation and maintenance. And so as I thought about Ramadan this year, I've thought about this notion of a life lived with one's faith woven right in to everything, all the time. The idea that faith used conscientiously can help us to lead a more balanced life. I am aware for myself and for many of you and for much of my peers and friends out in the world that all too often these days we live lives that are out of balance. We're mostly more sedentary than our bodies call us to be. We consume far more processed stuff than we do natural and whole foods. We spend so much of our time in artificial environments under artificial light, forgetting what the cycles of the moon even are. We work so hard sometimes that we forget what it is to play, or we sacrifice time with family or sacrifice time for ourselves in service of some notion of what it is to work in the world. I'm sure that all of us could list many more ways in which our modern lives can easily get out of balance. And most of us know what the results of that lack of balance are: stress, our bodies get all worn down, lack of sleep that affects the functioning of our brains, a narrowing of our minds that leads less toward compassion and more toward limitations and scarcity thinking. And sometimes we can get so out of balance that we push into this headspace that I call existential exhaustion. My best way to describe this feeling is like, yeah, maybe your body's tired, but more than your body being tired, your heart and your soul are tired. Like you get to that place where you feel like you've just got nothing left to give. You feel pulled in so many directions, work and family and the world, neighbors, friends, your own needs, that you end up feeling like you've failed in every part of your life and you just have nothing left. And its root often is, I think, a lack of balance and a lack of spiritual balance. Too much frightening news, not enough joyful outings. Too much isolation and not enough deep connecting. Too much change and not enough constancy. Too much insecurity and not enough stability. Too many sorrows and not enough joys. We're aware of the balance usually. We kind of know the signs. We're taught to recognize them. But my experience has been that many of us are not taught what to do about it. Or that if we are taught, we're given the short-term fix. Oh, go home and take a bath. Take a little vacation. Take some time for yourself. These are valuable, don't get me wrong. You've got to treat the symptoms. But so often we fail to treat the underlying lack of balance. We fail to embrace the continuous kind of self-care that is required. The fundamental shift in self and world understanding that is necessary to truly overcome existential exhaustion and a lack of balance in our lives. Now I want to take a minute and make very clear that I realize that the way our world works, we aren't always in control of all aspects of our balance. If you are living in extreme poverty, if you are homeless, if you're struggling with trauma or mental instability or family difficulties beyond your control or any number of things, it will impact your ability to find some kind of optimal balance. I understand that. I get that certain ways of creating long-term self-care may feel or truly be out of reach. But those are some pretty extreme cases. And I do believe that most of us can find ways to increase the balance in our daily lives. And that if we consider that often that existential exhaustion is the product of too much worry and not enough faith, or too much sorrow and not enough joy, or about our orientation, we can choose to make changes and achieve a little bit more of that necessary balance. In ministerial type circles, one of the ways that we encourage balance is by what we call spiritual practice. For some that means prayer, a daily prayer to the Spirit or to God or to the universe. It might be prayer that is rote, or it might be prayer that is more like a stream of consciousness. For some, it's a gratitude practice, writing down each night the things in your life that you are grateful for. For some, it is meditation, spending time each day in quiet breathing, focused on nothing but the inhalation and exhalation. For some, creation is a spiritual practice, knitting, baking, painting. For others, expression, the writing of poetry or journaling. For others, the creation of beauty through dance or music, gardening, exercising, cleaning. Seriously, there are so many things that can be understood as spiritual practice. And I know that you're like, yeah, meditation, deep breathing, that's totally spiritual. Cleaning, what are you talking about? But here's the thing. Spiritual practice is mostly about intentionality and perspective. What is spiritual or sacred or holy isn't objective. Nobody gets to define that as one thing. And so it's about an approach. It's about a way of seeing our own actions and seeing our lives. It's a change in how we are in the world. So 5 minutes a day of deep breathing can be a spiritual practice if you come at it with a sense of commitment, with a willingness to let those 5 minutes be different from the rest of your life. And so cleaning your house once a week can also be that. You can vacuum or do the dishes because you have to, right? You do laundry because if you don't, you won't have anything to wear. But you can add another dimension to these daily tasks of living. Just like when you meditate, you're adding a dimension to the daily task of breathing. You can add something in. Awareness that in the doing of these activities, you are opening yourself to time that is different and set apart. Your encounter with dirty clothes can become a chance for spiritual depth, and you can quote me on that. This is something that mystics have known for centuries, that how we come at things matters. Our reading this morning acknowledges this, right? She talks about different ways to pray, and one of the ways of pilgrimage, one of the 5 pillars, right, is pilgrimage to Mecca. And one of the ways of pilgrimage, she writes, is carrying the water, making the trip every day to get the water and balancing the basket of grapes. What spiritual practice, what an intentional activity offers, is perspective. The same way that being here for 1 hour on Sundays hopefully changes things. A constant and consistent spiritual practice offers many gifts. A sense of constancy, something that you are in control of, a dedicated time outside of the musts of your life, or at least a dedicated way of approaching the musts of your life. A chance to gain perspective and clarity by stepping outside, mentally stepping outside of the drudgery and the grind. A time set apart intentionally for not worrying, not fearing, not discussing or debating. A time for being in your body, not in your head. In your emotions, out of your intellect. In your creativity, out of the normal box you inhabit. When we do this, when we challenge ourselves to create such time and then we commit to it, we find often that the days feel more expansive, that our lives become more balanced, that by changing our approach to the simplest of things, breathing, walking, whatever, we begin to change our approach to everything. Spiritual practice is about continuous spiritual renewal, finding time regularly to reconnect to yourself, to your life, to the world, and allowing those deep connections to bring you a renewed sense of place and purpose and commitment. When we are exhausted existentially, it becomes very hard to accomplish even the simplest of things. The very day feels off. When we get so out of balance, everything feels off. And it's hard to feel secure and stable. But when we introduce these small shifts in perspective and time and practice, we can begin to find a sense of stability again. So I can hear you thinking, but I don't have 5 minutes a day to breathe deeply. But I have to just get the laundry done. I can't be intentional about it. But I promise you, you can. And that if you do, it will begin to shift your sense of where you are in your life. That your sense of constant obligation and pull and commitment to the world will shift a little bit, and you'll come at it from a place instead of depth and connection and stability. We have the tools, and we can have the courage, and we have a place to practice ways of deepening, ways of combating existential exhaustion. Together, here, and then in our own lives every day, with commitment and with hope, we can become renewed in our sense of strength and security.
Each weekend, we make an offering from the bounty we are blessed to enjoy. We do this in a spirit of generosity, aware that we have benefited from those that have gone before, those who in their turn gave generously. The offering goes to support the mission of our congregation, to seek, connect, act, and love. Each month, we share the plate with a justice-seeking organization or effort. If you are visiting, there is no expectation that you will participate in the offering. Consider yourself our guest. For those of us who regularly participate in building and who also then benefit from this congregation, we ask you to remember that it is your regular and sustained giving that makes this congregation work. Please give generously. This month's Share the Plate recipient is the Rural and Migrant Ministry in Westchester in partnership with the Unitarian Universalist College of Social Justice. Donations will help pay the stipend for a summer college intern, Hannah Van Dolson, whose work will focus on the Justice for Farm Workers campaign in Westchester County, New York City, and Long Island. The offering will now be given and gratefully received.
But I want you to really hear this. And I thought long about what these last 3 sermons needed to say. And so this is one of the things I need to say. So really try to hear this. I know that you may be exhausted, but you are not alone. You do not have to carry it all. You can lay down your burden, whether it is personal or related to the state of the world. You can lay it down for an hour here on Sundays, 5 minutes a day out in your home or wherever, however long you need to, you can lay it down and it will be okay. You are not responsible for holding everything. You can't. You can put it down and it will be okay. You don't have to hold everything. You don't have to do everything. You do not have to fix everything. You just have to do the best you can, and sometimes that means stopping and letting it go, taking a break, and recentering yourself. You are allowed to find balance in your life that is sustainable and gives you a deep sense of connection and strength. Not only are you allowed to, you are called to. And in doing it, you will know ever more the deep truth that you are not alone. You are not required to hold it all. May you remember that that is true. That you can share the worry and others will help you and hold you. May all of us work to keep ourselves and each other and the world in a better balance of sorrows and joys, of worry and hope. May you know now and always that you have a safe and hopeful place to lay it down. You are not alone. Please rise in body or spirit for our final hymn. It's 1008 in your teal hymnal.
Our heart is in
joining in extinguishing the chalice. The words are printed in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
All time and all space can be holy ground. As long as life encounters life, as long as we come together in community, take on the pain and the pride of our companions. May we remember that wherever we meet, we can create something beautiful and sacred. Go in peace.